Shalom, Kal Halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKwadash, double honors unto my apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, who rule well and teach well with much diligence, peace, love, and salutation unto the hopeful elect, kings and priests who are out there laboring, pushing out this word in all sincerity and in all truth. Likewise, Shalom unto the sisters and little ones who are also in hopes of mercy at the return of our Lord and Savior, who is also of the 1/3. Brother, I'm Amon from the Great Millstone Branch, Los Angeles, Southern California, camp of the High Desert region. Back here with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson here this afternoon on time dated is at 1:55 p.m. Today's date is November 4th, 2025, another day closer to Esau's downfall and the uprising of our kingdom, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the true chosen people of the Heavenly Father, the Most High, who the world ignorantly calls God. His name is Yahweh, and his son name is Yahweh Shai, who we call upon here in these last days that will save us from this time like never before that's about to happen across the four corners of the wind. Great tribulations due to lack of bread. Great tribulations due to lack of bread. Now, information just came out. This past weekend, you had two Supreme judges, high official judges, ordering the Trump administration that they should issue out contingency funds, emergency funds to states, all 50 states, have partial SNAP benefits. But come to find out today, Trump posted on his, the True platform, social platform network, that he's not going to issue out those funds. Matter of fact, do I have it in one of these links? I think it's right here. This damn demon popping up. Yeah, here it is. Trump says SNAP has been canceled. It says SNAP benefits, which increased by billions and billions of dollars many-fold during crooked Joe Biden's disastrous term in office, due to the fact that they were haphazardly handled to anyone for the asking, as opposed to just those in need, which is the purpose of SNAP, will be given only when the radical left Democrats open up government, which they can easily do and not before. Thank you all. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And it's like, here it is. They got a court order for them to open up the government as far as issuing out these SNAP benefits. Okay, and here it is. He's not even gonna he's gonna defy the court orders, which he's already been doing that with this whole ICE situation. All right, when he just been deploying the National Guard to whoever he want, defying these Supreme Court orders. Why? Because Trump has punitary, what is that called? Forgot the word, man. But basically a guy on CNN, one of those high news broadcasts, he slipped up saying that basically Trump can override these laws, basically, man. I forgot what that's called. I don't want to go through the trouble of searching it, but it starts with a P. It's like punitary action or punitary authority or something like that. Okay, that's what he has. Okay, because he's the king of Babylon. He's the king of Babylon the Great. Okay, he's that stout fellow that's bringing in this NWO, and it's going to be by one, it could be by these the lack of bread, okay, not being distributed to these low income families, and that's going to hit a lot of these grocery store pockets, hit a lot of these warehouses, and also too dealing with the flights. Government continues to be shut down from that. You ain't gonna have no air control travelers, air control controllers that monitor these planes, all right, to their destination. You got these TSA agents not getting paid. So everything is backfiring due to the shutdown. And I'm gonna let this guy talk a little bit more about it. And Lord willing, this is an edifying lesson, you know.
We have breaking news right now. Donald Trump is now going to defy a lawful court order to pay out SNAP benefits to millions of Americans, weaponizing hunger in the process. Minutes ago, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, SNAP benefits, which increased by billions and billions of dollars, manyfold, during crooked Joe Biden's disastrous term in office, due to the fact that they were haphazardly handed to anyone for the asking, as opposed to just those in need, which is the purpose of SNAP, will be given only when the radical left Democrats open up government, which they can easily do and not before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Previously, at least one court ordered Donald Trump to hand over contingency funds set aside, appropriated by Congress, to pay out SNAP benefits. There are about $4.6 billion in contingency funds that were specifically set aside and appropriated for emergency situations like the ones we are in. And yet, this administration, this president, is defying that court order, refusing to pay out SNAP benefits until the government is reopened. But here's the deal, that's not what the court said. The court said, Donald Trump, you have to pay out SNAP benefits immediately. You have to use these contingency funds to pay out SNAP benefits immediately. And yesterday, the Trump administration notified that same court that it would be paying out partial SNAP benefits. It may take several weeks and months to pay out, but these contingency funds will be used to cover about 50% of November SNAP benefits.
Now let me pause there before he continues speaking. Partial. So he wrote back to the judge and said only partial benefits can be paid to these SNAP recipients, and that could take weeks to months for them to determine who gets this much and who gets this much. So you're gonna have people that's waiting from the first all the way to the 28th, because people get paid different days throughout the month, because some of these people benefits don't start until the 11th, maybe the 7th, maybe the 15th, maybe the 16th. So they're gonna be waiting possibly past those days. So what do you think they're gonna do when they're dependent upon this SNAP? When they're dependent on the government for these resources, they're gonna be lined up at these churches, which is already happening. They're gonna be lined up at these food banks, which I have an article on that. They're already doing it. Look at the federal workers. You know, they're not getting a check, and they have to line up because they're not getting a SNAP, you know, because their job, they say they make this amount so they can feed for themselves, but the government being shut down, now they have to go to a food bank. But what happens when the food banks run out of food? Because they're overwhelmed by too many people coming to the bank. Now the people that's been standing in line, now they can't get any food. Same thing with these SNAP recipients, you know, lined up at the food banks. And then what's going to happen? People going to start resorting to stealing, you know. So this is a social experiment like Elder Akian been saying, our apostles been saying, the bishops been saying. This is a whole social experiment going on. Because how the hell can this dude just violate anything? And the thing is, this motherfucker's a felon. You know, you got a felon in office right now that gave off hush money to some females to not say nothing. You know, he done got away with a lot of shit, and he's your United States president. You know, it's just crazy, man. And now you all MAGA, y'all fooled now. You know, nobody's rocking that hat no more. Now Trump, we got election day today. Nobody's with this administration because due to the policies that's happening. Let's keep going.
One day later, Donald Trump is now going back on what his own Department of Justice, what his own officials, what his own USDA have said in court, and says that he will not pay out SNAP benefits unless the government is reopened. That is a direct violation of a lawful court order. What happens next? What's next is already in court today. Lawyers for those states trying to fight for SNAP benefits have already said that the Trump administration must pay out more than what it's saying it'll pay out. So they already went to the court today and they said that we want more. The Trump administration has tens of billions of dollars in emergency funding. It needs to use that. This partial payment BS isn't going to fly with us. So it went to the courts already. They're already fighting for more. And now you're going to see, likely in the coming days, contempt proceedings. If Donald Trump truly does not pay out SNAP benefits, which is what he is suggesting, unless the government is reopened, that would be a blatant violation of Judge McConnell's court order in Rhode Island. And what it means next is that there will be contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials who violate that court order. Remember, in the past, Donald Trump has threatened to violate court orders. He has said that he's not going to do it, he's not going to follow it. But now, uh, ever since saying that, he actually has come back and more or less they follow the court order. But now this is a blatant saying absolutely not. He's not gonna follow a court order. So we're gonna see what happens there. And it comes as the Trump administration is actively weaponizing hunger. Right now, 42 million Americans, that's 1 in 8 Americans, rely on food assistance or SNAP to survive. We have breaking news.
So we're going to see what's going to become of this. You know, it's no, how do you say it? It's not a surprise that Trump wrote up an executive order. What is it called? Operation Quick Task Force or something like that, around all 50 states to deploy up to a total of, I think it's like 2,300. No, it's 2,300, 23,000 or 25,000 troops, 500 in each state during a civil disturbance or civil unrest. Because that's exactly what's going to happen due to all this. Okay? People are going to go out into the streets. People are going to start protesting. People are going to start burning shit down. Going up to courts, going up to police precincts, you know, the WIC building, you know, SNAP building, going into buildings, you know. Because this is going to bring in an order out of the chaos. Because that's what's coming. Chaos in a time like never before is coming to America. This is Mark chapter 13, verse 5. And Yahushua answering them began to say, take heed lest any man deceive you. Right. Take heed. You know, the hopeful elect is going to take heed. Because a lot of these false Israelites, they're going to tell you not to worry about certain things like Jacob's trouble is stupid or Jacob's trouble is gay. We're in the midst of Jacob's trouble right now. Look what they're doing to the northern kingdom. You know, snatching you up, taking you to alligator Alcatraz, taking you to some detention camp nobody knows about, offing you, dropping you from planes. But you got people, camps out there telling you this is not Jacob's trouble. You know, you got to take heed, man. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, and shall deceive many. Which Mashiach, which is the Hebrew word of saying Christ, the word means anointed. You got a lot of these teachers that are telling you that they're anointed, but they're deceiving many, man. Okay? They may tell you about they may believe the MOTB, okay? But yet they tell you it's okay to have sex on the Sabbath, right? Or they might not even believe in the MOTB, okay? And tell you that the name of the Lord don't matter. But yet they have this big following. They got a lot of members in their camp. And it may seem like the Lord is with them. Meanwhile, they don't know the name, so-called, you know. But yet everybody is following them, okay? Teaching you that there's a hell if you don't listen to them, you know. Verse 7, and we shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Be ye not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. And you do hear wars and rumors of wars. You hear about America talking about putting boots on the ground in Nigeria now because of the persecution of the Christians. But what about the heavy persecution that's going on in China? Okay? Why don't they rise up, put boots on the ground in China? It's happening worse in China than it is in a small town, a small country of Nigeria. I mean, a small country of Africa, which is which is in the land of Nigeria. Okay, it's way worse. I did a lesson on that. The persecution that's in China is a mirror of what's to come here in America. Cause you get caught out there in them secret tunnels, having them secret synagogues. You can either get tortured or put to death, or locked up in prison, never heard of again. Why won't Trump put boots down on the ground over there? Right? Because they can't. They're backed by Russia. Okay? They backed by Iran. But America is already in a silent war, really a cyber war, an economic war, and pretty soon a physical war with China. What's going on with all these cyber wars with the Amazon being shut down and affecting all these platforms and tradings? That's a part of war. It always starts off cyber wars economically, and then it's physical. And then, they send in their jackals and all that. So you got war on all fronts. You got the war rising up with America and Russia. Okay? America and Iran, Israel and Iran. Because America is backing Israel. Okay? So these are wars and rumors of wars. Okay? But the end shall not be yet, meaning it's not that time yet, because we got the mark of the beast, that's MOTB, that still has to be set to pass. Which you have these countries, these states ushering in the digital ID, because that's another thing too, which is Utah, that's starting to usher in a digital ID. That's another thing. In order for they might just not open this shit back up, how it's looking, and require a whole new way for you to receive these things, which is with a digital ID with that CBDC part of it. Okay, these UBIs, central bank digital currencies, because they already spoke about years ago about a digital dollar. Okay, America's out of money. We're out of pennies. Now you got these people. I was at one. Where was I at? I was where was I? I was in Vegas this past weekend, and I had got me a smoothie. I had got me a green smoothie. And then the lady is like, we're all out of pennies, so I'm just going to have to round it out to you, basically. So they're slowly cutting off. I think they said that back in August, like they stopped with the circulation of 2025 pennies. So they're slowly doing away with coins, okay? Because everybody is tapping, okay? Tapping. I think I tapped to pay. I got so used to it. I'm tapping to pay. Because I carry a little cash on me, but this thing is getting to that way, to where that's like the modern thing now, where people just tap and pay. They don't hardly even use cash anymore. I think like Starbucks and a lot of these places, they don't even accept cash, man. You go in certain gyms, a gym I go to, they do not accept cash. It's all digital. That's where we moving to, man. That's where it's at in society. Verse 8, back in Mark 13, chapter 8. Back in Mark chapter 13, verse 8. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrow. So let me take a sip of water. I got some food stuck in my throat. Let me read this again. Mark chapter 13, verse 8. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows. We see that. We see a lack of food being distributed. We see trouble arising due to all this. People not being able to pay for this, pay for that. So they got to resort to what? Stealing. You see nation rising against nation. Russia got this new missile that can just stay up in the sky for what I think it said like 15 hours or some shit like that. Probably longer than that. You know, you see these nations rising up against another. You got these major earthquakes going on. You just had this crazy storm that was, if they said if a category category 6 was if that was a such thing, then it would have been labeled at that, because I believe it was over 175 miles an hour, you know, and it just devastated Jamaica. It devastated Cuba, mass floodings, you know. So and then people are suffering over there. You still got Americans trapped over there. Them damn airports not working. You know, where's the news coverage on that? You know, it says these are the beginning of sorrows. We're in the beginning of sorrows, like Elder Martizak was going to at camp this past week. We're in a beginning of sorrows right now. You know, I had walked into when camp was over last week. I walked into the grocery store, and this is mind you, this is November. This is November. Slakia. This is November 1st. Yeah, November 1st, and they said due to the SNAP benefits not being distributed, there might be a delay in certain SNAP cards or something like that. It said, you know. But look at this right here from the Essence of Black Culture page on the Instagram. It says, well, what do we have here? Food banks. I am sure you all didn't want to hear those food banks. I'm sure you all didn't want to wear those red hats today. Right. Because it's usually Trump supporters, you know. Because a majority of the country, damn near, they voted for this dude Trump. Because they thought he was going to make America great again. But what has he done? You have seeped more into poverty. Over millions of people have lost their jobs. You lined up at a food bank, waiting for food, yo. Lying around the corner. It's hot as hell. You out there early in the morning, you know? And then you probably won't even get, you know, a box of food, you know? Because they done ran out. It says, look at the comments. Where's all those red hats and shirts at? Are we great yet? Right. The last time we had food bank lines this long, Trump was in his first term. He literally destroys America. They're standing in line while their king threw a $3.4 million party on taxpayers' dime. And nobody's saying anything about that. Nobody's like here it is, y'all. Y'all over here celebrating Halloween. They said you Americans spent like 13 billion point something on Halloween. 13 million or billion or something like that on Halloween shit. And most of that shit mostly on credit card. Like, how y'all got all this money? Y'all talking about y'all going through this, going through that, but y'all got enough money, you know, to go out there and buy all this big ass, put the big ass skeleton in the front of the house. Damn spider webs every damn where. Mummies and shit. All this dead shit. But yet the benefits ain't coming in next month. You know? And your president, he's throwing a party, you know, out there in Florida. And he's reconstructing the White House with your money, with your taxpayers' money, man. Okay? Giving out billions to Argentina. And nobody's out in the street, nobody riding. Y'all just lined up at the food bank. Talk about it's gonna be all right. It has not been all right. It ain't nothing going on. Good. These are sorrows right now. This ain't no good time. You know, we're in a whole nother era right now. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. It's a time and place for everything, man. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather to get stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. Are we in peace right now? What time are we in? Scripture say, measure out the time diligently in itself. What time are we in? We're in a time of war. We're in a time of hate. Okay? We're in a time people are losing. Okay? We're in a time where people are weeping. Scripture say, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Everybody's in a state of mourning. You even got Cardi B talking about how everybody's struggling. And she's a multi-millionaire female rap artist. You know? And she has a NFL lover, husband, whatever the dude is, and he has money. You know, but they're struggling. Everybody's struggling. They're not making that same. You people look at these, idolize them all on the TV screen. A lot of that shit is being rented. Them cars, that money, they ain't throwing real money in the music videos. You know what I'm saying? They ain't splurging like how they used to. It says food banks all over the U.S. are being overwhelmed by a tsunami of hungry people. As grocery price, and this is from Michael Snyder from the economiccollapseblog.com. As grocery prices have risen, demand at food banks throughout the country has surged to a very alarming levels. At the end of 2024, I wrote about how demand at food banks had risen to record levels all over the United States. Unfortunately, demand has continued to rise in 2025, and now the government shutdown has shifted America's hunger crisis into overdrive. Millions of very hungry people are showing up at food banks looking for something to eat, and resources are being stretched to the limit. There is no area of the nation that is not being affected by this crisis. That's everywhere. North, south, east, west of the Babylonian map. For example, it is being reported that food banks in Iowa are experiencing record demand during this government shutdown. Food pantries across Iowa are seeing record demand as families wait for the federal government to restore their food assistance benefits. So what does record demand look like? Well, at one food bank in Iowa, they are serving about twice as many people as usual. Okay? Iowa, which I believe is part of the one of the bread baskets of America, man. No, that's Idaho, Salakia. Matter of fact, let me do my due diligence real quick. Look up the World Atlas real quick. Let me get this right. Let's see. Shit, Salakia. Iowa. Damn, they have switched this map up a lot. I haven't used this thing in a minute. It's usually somewhere over here. Matter of fact, let's do this. Is Iowa Salak. Damn, bear with me, Akian. Is Iowa, IOWA, close to Idaho? No, Iowa is not close to Idaho. They are separated by over 1,000 miles. I want to see a image, man. Let me see what this says. Hey, let me see if this is part of the breadbasket of America. Like 1,000. That's pretty a stretch. That's a long stretch, though. Let's see. Let me see something. Let me pull it up like this. Now my phone is going slow. Salakia. Because I remember pulling this up and I used to be able to show you. All these freaking pop-ups. Here's Idaho. It's like somewhere over here. That's Nebraska. Damn, dude, my phone is moving slow right now. Iowa. I keep saying Idaho. Iowa on the map. There it is. See, this is how it used to look on the here it is. See, I knew it was close somewhere. So you can it's in the middle. It's like central east, more central east. Because the breadbasket is more Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Washington, Oregon. That's more the breadbasket of America. You know, but all over they're suffering. You know, let's get back to this article. It says, while families wait, many are turning to food pantries for help. At Waypoint Resources in Waukee, the line for food stretched out the door Monday. We just opened at noon today, and already in the first hour, we saw double the number of people that we normally see, said Melissa Stemple, the center executive director. We are seeing similar things happen in other parts of the nation too. In Southwest Texas, one network of food banks is now serving nearly 170,000 people per week. Come on now. It says, getting to the key points, it says Copper said San Antonio Food Bank, which is part of the nonprofit the organization Feeding America, typically feeds 105,000 to 120,000 people per week, but now it's seeing close to 170,000 people per week. When you suddenly go from serving 120,000 people per week to serving 170,000 people per week, it is going to be very difficult to have enough food for everyone. Often those at the end of the food bank lines end up with nothing, and that is why so many people are lining up early. See? On Monday, the line at one Bay Area food bank stretched all the way down the sidewalk. We had opened a food line. The crowd was a little hard to believe, but for Denzo, not very surprising. In Detroit, dozens of cars were lined around the block yesterday morning. So Detroit, the Bay Area, Iowa, you know, they all lined up in their cars. It says Kim Lewis, who runs the site, said her group faced cold weather and rain to serve more than 250 families. So they're standing in the rain, cold weather, to get this food. It says 40 minutes after the site closed, the group was still loading up cars, only stopping after supplies depleted. So they exhausted all of their resources that day. In Colorado, approximately 100 vehicles were lined up at a food bank in Greeley before the doors were even open. It says about 100 cars lined up along 8th Street near Weld food bank in Gurley on Monday morning before the organization opened its doors. Their drivers and passengers waiting to pick up food on the third day of a lapse in funding for the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This is what our country looks like now. Millions of formerly middle-class Americans are now in desperate need for food. I have been ranting about the destruction of middle class for years, but a lot of people out there didn't take me seriously. Now look at what has happened. If you think that we're facing this crisis just because of the current government shutdown, you are way off. One food bank in Daytona, Ohio, was experiencing a dramatic spike in demand long before the shutdown ever happened. And this been going on. Food pantries been lined up. Like the article said, I remember years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, about these food banks and pantries and being overcrowded due to people losing their jobs. SNAP is not enough to help out, you know. Nobody's making a living wage, man. As I have carefully documented, hunger has been rising in the United States for years, but America is this rich place, you know. America is the most wastefulest country ever. They waste so much. They take you to jail if you go dumpster diving. I remember working at a food restaurant. We threw so much food away. I remember working on a dung hill where they basically put expired food at, and you got to distribute it through the food. Okay? And a lot of that shit wasn't expired. They just smashing it and tossing it away. You know? Talk about this expired shit. I'm putting some of that shit in my pocket and taking it home. You know? Real talk. Because shit. It's too many people starving. You know, let alone you living check to check. You know? It says, and now we are rapidly getting to a point where there simply will not be enough food for everyone. And why is that? Why isn't that there wouldn't be enough food for everyone? Because the devil is ruling. I quoted this earlier, Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. See, back when King Solomon and our former kings, okay, there wasn't no lack. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that. You know, when King Solomon ruled, there was nobody lacked. Okay, everybody was eating. Okay, let's see if I can find that, Lord willing. Let's see if this is it. See if this is it. This is 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 26. And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers provided victuals for King Solomon and for all that came unto King Solomon's table. Every man in his month, they lacked nothing. Barley also and straw for the horses and dromedaries brought they unto the place where the officers were, every man according to his charge. So those that serve Solomon, you know, for those that serve Solomon, they have victuals. Okay, they all ate. It says, for all that came unto Solomon's table, every man in his month, they lacked nothing. Okay, man, let me look into let's see what this commentary says right here real quick. I'm just curious to what it will say. It says, oh, I gotta read up. I gotta read up. 1 Kings chapter 4 and Man, Solomon, man, which is Yahweh Shai which is Yahweh Shai, because there was no greater king than Solomon, nor that rose up after him, which is Yahweh Shai. It says, 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 22, and Solomon's provision for one day was 30 measures of fine flour, 60 of measures of meal, 10 fat oxen, 20 oxen out of the pastures, and 100 sheep, beside harts and roebucks and flour deer, and fatted fowl. For he had dominion over all the region on this side of the river, from Tipsha, even unto Asa, over all the kings of the side of the river, and he had peace on all sides round about him. And Judah and Israel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon. So everybody in Israel was good. They dwelt safely. They were secure. They didn't have no lack. They was not worried under King Solomon. 40 years of peace, okay, under King Solomon. Nobody lacked. No wars, okay. It says, and Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. And those officers provided victual for King Solomon. Shalakia. And for all that came unto King Solomon's table, every man in his month, they lacked nothing. Every man in his month. Every month, nobody lacked nothing, man. Just like how every month, you get restored these SNAP benefits. Every month, your checks is going out to your soldiers or to your working class, to all that. The scriptures say the king is served by the field. Who goes out there and tills the field? Who goes out there to pick these fruits and all that? The people do. Okay, and they get paid for it, So in the time of Solomon, everybody had what they had every month. They lacked nothing. It says barley also and straw for the horses